Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we have your very first look at the Tier 7 Premium Japanese Cruiser, the Azuma. So, without further ado, let's get to the commander. We're going to be using Isoroku Yamamoto. We are also going to be using Norman Scott and Andre Roux as our two commander inspirations. We have Beyond Range, Igniter, Punch Through, Fixated, and Fully Packed as our commanders, or as our skills. We are a level 16 Legendary 2, so we're good in that regard. Let's look at what we've got for our loadout. We are running a Aiming Systems Mod 1, Steering Gears Mod 2, Concealment System Mod, and we're running Main Battery Mod 3. Now this one is controversial. You can use Main Battery Mod 3 or you can run the Gunfire Control System depending on what you like to do. This makes your traverse even slower, and this thing already has a really bad traverse, so keep that in mind. Now with that, let's get into the stats. Now obviously we've got your standard loadout, except we have 4 heals. So it's got really good, and they're short duration heals with a quick cooldown is what I meant. So they've got a very quick cooldown on the heals, allowing you to heal very quickly. I like these heals. These heals feel good on this ship. The catapult fighters, normal, nothing changed there. I am running the epic battle booster, but I'll take that off for the purpose of this review so that you can see the stats. We are going to go to survivability, which is 52,000. Sorry, I got distracted there for a second. 52,500 hit points, which is very, very good. Armor 13 to 305 millimeters. Basically, it's got enough armor to bow tank 15-inch guns and lower, but if you over angle, you get shredded. This thing does take citadels really easily, so keep that in mind. The other thing is, HE shreds this ship. HE just decimates this ship, so keep that in mind. But 22% torpedo damage reduction is almost up there with the Iowa's 25, so that should give you an idea. You still don't want to be taking torpedoes, but it isn't the end of the world usually if you do. Artillery, we have 310 millimeter guns. We have 9 of them in a standard configuration with two turrets at the front, 1 at the rear. We are running a 17.4 kilometer firing range without the booster. With the booster, I believe that goes up to 17.9. Reload time is just under 23 seconds, which is not good for a cruiser, but at the same time, these are 310 millimeter guns. So, still not great, but the guns make up for it. 46-second, 180-degree time. That's why I was talking about these turrets are sluggish. You do not want to get into turning battles in this thing for a couple of reasons, but just keep that in mind. The turret's traverse is horrendous. Maximum HE shell damage, 4,568, with a 30% chance to set on fire. And on top of that, it's Japanese HE, which hits like a freight train. So you get a lot more penetrations and the extra chance to set fires. It's great. AP shell damage is 8,802. The AP is mediocre. It's not horrendous. It's not bad. But at the same time, it's not amazing. But you can use it, especially at close range. Close range broadside targets, you will freaking freight train people with AP. But at further ranges against armored targets, you're probably going to be wanting to use the HE just due to the fact that you're going to get more effectiveness out of your guns. And when you have a 23 second reload time on this thing, you definitely want all the effectiveness you can. So you're going to be switching ammo a lot. Maneuverability, maximum speed 34 knots. Now they say this is fast, but maybe it's fast because of the size of the ship. But honestly, it's literally like one knot faster than a Baltimore, I think. So it's not fast. It's fast enough, but it's not absurdly fast. Turning circle radius is the exact same as the Iowa, 920 meters. So, yeah, not particularly good at turning. But that's mainly due to its rudder shift, and as you recall, we have upgraded our rudder shift a little bit. It's still 11.1, which is not good. But once this thing starts to turn, it really doesn't feel that bad. But you just got to keep that in mind. This thing is very good at kiting away, as well as also getting full broadsides off. Like, I like to do the dreadnought shuffle, where I bow tank or stern tank, depending on the engagement, and then after they've shot and hit me, then I turn out to get a full broadside off and turn back before they can shoot me again. So that's the way this thing really does well. 10.9 kilometer surface detection, which is pretty good. It's definitely serviceable. For the size of the ship, you can disappear when you need to and disengage. You will need to, especially if you become the center of attention. This thing does not do well as the center of attention. Especially HE rips this thing apart. Guaranteed detectability, always 2, and then detectability while firing in smoke is 9.7 kilometers. So, not good, but that's because of the size of the gun. Big guns. The ship is armed with high-caliber main battery guns. That is true. 310mm guns is pretty good size. Sure shot. The shells with good ballistic trajectory maintain velocity, making aiming easier. I will also agree with this. This means you're not going to be able to sit behind islands as effectively, but you do have a much easier time hitting targets reliably. So this thing is pretty good. I like this ship so far. Pyromania, above average chance for HE shells to cause a fire. That's, again, because of the high caliber of the shells. They're 310 millimeters, and they are Japanese, so they get a very good HE shell. Azuma, a powerful high-speed ship designed to destroy American heavy cruisers and confront Alaska-class large cruisers. Some design solutions were borrowed from Yamato-class battleships. She was armed with 9 310mm guns and had good anti-torpedo protection. Year of design was 1941, and clearly she was never built. But, again, it literally says in the description, designed to confront Alaska-class large cruisers. So why on earth is this not a legendary ship? And we'll go over that in a minute, too. And I think I know the answer. But let's take a look at her. She's a good-looking ship. What do you think of the port? I like the port. I don't like the freaking rose tint that they put over it. I get it. It's cherry blossoms. The sakura is blooming. I get that. But, come on, man. It's not pleasing to the eyes to be just saturated. And what do you mean by saturated? Well, as soon as we get around to the other side of the ship, you will see what I mean. But I do like this ship. I like it a lot, actually. And I will probably be picking this one up, even if I won't play it very often. But did you notice the sun is pink for some reason? I don't know why. But obviously, early morning hours, sunrise could be pink, I guess. But yeah, it just kind of throws me off in the port. I would have rather had normal sun and this beautiful port, because it is a beautiful port. So, without further ado, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we are going to be on Tears of the Desert, and we're going to be in a normal Tier 7 match. Now, the first couple matches I played in this thing, I was in a Legendary tier match, and then I played a match where it was a 3v3, and there's just not been a whole lot of consistency in the matchmaking this morning, so I've had some good games. I've actually had several good games in this thing, which is why I say that this thing is actually pretty good. And I highly recommend, if you are a heavy cruiser player and you enjoy heavy cruisers, you are going to enjoy this. It plays very similar to most of your heavy cruisers. Now, if you're a battleship player, your mileage may vary. If you're a destroyer player, you're not going to enjoy this thing. There are no torpedoes. Okay, it's the first Japanese cruiser, I believe, that does not have torpedoes. So keep that in mind. You don't have a get-out-of-jail-free card at your disposal. But the guns are very good, and I do enjoy the guns quite a bit. But again, this thing was designed to take on and confront the Alaska, which is a legendary tier, so I feel like this should be a legendary tier cruiser. and then they could have dropped the reload time down and give it some things, or maybe increase the armor or something to make it more competitive at legendary tiers. But as you will see in this match, this thing is very, very effective. When you utilize its armor and it doesn't become the center of attention too badly. And the guns against it are going to be mostly low caliber, so we don't have to worry too much about the guns coming at us. Because again, 16-inch guns and above wreck this ship. And on top of that, broadsiding in this ship is dangerous as well, because you take citadels very, very easily. So you really got to utilize the turning of the ship, which again isn't great. It's definitely not good, but it does turn relatively quickly once it starts to turn. So just getting it turning, you'll get a feel for it, is what I'm saying. And you'll see that later in the match as well. Now, Odin comes out, he's broadside on. I had high explosive loaded. And we're going to go ahead and try to set him on fire. And we get the first fire right off the bat. Now, this guy is going to screw up, and he is going to damage con that single fire. Now, we've talked about this many a times, why you don't damage con a single fire, especially when the thing that's setting you on fire can set you on fire again very quickly. And with the fire chance that we've got in this thing, and the fact that the guns are pretty freaking accurate, it's just a matter of time before we hit him and set him on fire. Now, we had to wait before we could clear the island. We get the shot off, and wait for it, we get the double fire. So one fire is replaced with 2 fires. And those are going to burn for quite a while. And so Odin, not in a good place. Now, our Vladdy is just sailed right into everybody's center of attention, which is good for me, but bad for him, and considering he is the only person on this side of the map with me, because our Scharnhorst ran away like a little coward, even though I asked him multiple times to stay, and he was in comms, so I don't know. Apparently, he just wanted to run away, and I'm sure he'll play very well at the end of the match, but yeah, I don't know. I don't care, but the main thing is we're not going to give up. Now, Odin is on fire 3 times, or it's 2 fires, but he has the one that makes you only be able to set somebody on fire 3 times instead of 4. So, but either way, he's burning. We're getting quite a bit of damage off of him, and the Vladdy has punched him while he's been broadside, so he goes down and we get a first blood. Now, there is a Scharnhorst rushing us. We have armor piercing loaded, which is not particularly amazing against a Scharnhorst. Scharnhorst has some of the most effective armor in the game, especially against anything lower caliber, but even big guns tend to fail to do a lot of damage against a Scharnhorst, so it can be really tricky. However, we have HE, and so as we switch to our HE and we get ready to fire, as you can see, we are able to disengage in between shots, which keeps people from shooting you a lot of times. So if you wait for them to shoot and then you fire, they're not going to get loaded and hit you before you disappear again. And you will also disappear. Now, I'm not going to pay too much attention to this early on, but as you can see, Scharnhorst has damage conned once again, so we're going to go ahead and make him pay for it. You put out a single fire, you better be ready to get set on fire some more, and you will burn for quite a while. And so I know this is a domination, and I know we should be capturing bases, but we have 2 bases, they have 1, and it's the base that they spawned with. So I'm not particularly worried about the bases, and so I'm just going to try to survive. Our Vladdy is almost dead. He's not long for this world. He's got multiple people focusing him, and as soon as he goes down, their attention's going to be turned to me. So we're trying to get this guy on fire, and finally we get our extra fire on him. So we've got 1 fire burning on the Scharnhorst. I'm going to go ahead and mute the freaking Scharnhorst because he has a phone that keeps going off in the background, and I hope that's not coming through on the video. I apologize if it is. I normally mute it early, but I was giving him the benefit of the doubt that it was just a one-time deal, but no, it's definitely not. Anyway, we get a second fire and a third fire on the Scharnhorst, so he is actually burning 3 times right now. And so he's definitely had better days, but he's going to be a crispy critter after a couple of seconds here. And you can see that the damage stacks up very quickly. We're bouncing most of the rounds that are coming at us. they get a penetration here and there. But this is what I'm talking about with just kiting away. You know, sometimes you got to know when to try to disengage, kite away, keep the advantage in your favor. If it's a 1v2, you don't want to be engaging both of them at the same time. Their Azuma is kind of too far back. So it's just me versus this Scharnhorst at the moment. And as long as I keep going away from them at a decent speed, their Azuma's just not going to get in range to shoot me. And so that's what we call preferable. Limiting who can engage you and allowing yourself to have the advantage. Now you can see here, I go ahead and I shoot him with all the turrets, and then I get back before he's able to shoot us back. And this is what I'm talking about with that Dreadnought Shuffle. If you are good at that, you are going to be good in this ship. You just know that you can turn in, and you've got to plan ahead. You can't just wait until he fires at you, you know what I mean? You've got to be constantly changing your direction to make yourself into an advantageous position. And now that we shot all of our guns at him, we're going to be turning away again, and he's going to get basically nothing off of us because of his low caliber guns and the fact that I've got armor. Now, he doesn't try to hit us right away. He's actually going to go broadside here, and I'm kind of mad that I didn't have AP loaded at this point, because this would have been a very good salvo for AP. However, it's still going to be a pretty good salvo of HE, and we get another fire. That being said, he does, or he should be having a damage con in the near future. He also has heals. Now, Azuma has a very good shot at our broadside, and we get fortunate that he does not get a Citadel here. We're angled just enough, and just enough of his shells do miss. Now, that is one thing I will say about this. The guns are very good, but they do still troll you occasionally with just dispersion that will literally splash around everything you're trying to hit. Now, I'm going to get into a trading match with this Azuma initially. I saw a battleship heading our direction. I don't know what that battleship is, but we do get a fire on the Azuma, and we're already up to almost 100,000 damage. All right, we have taken the majority of the Scharnhorst's health, majority of the Odin's health, and we're starting to trickle away the Azuma as well. We've done everything for our side of the match, but now that I have regrouped with a teammate, you can see that I'm going to just take this moment, disengage, leave those two guys. They are no consequence to the match at this time, and I'm going to start to come back towards the rest of my team. The battleship that's with me ends up being a Roma, I believe, and they're going to kind of be lagging behind me a bit here, mainly because he just didn't know what I was going to do. So he was probably coming over to help me if I'd have went back towards them, but because I charge forward, because I'm faster going forward, I'm going to go in between these two islands here and start to engage through the center of the map. Now, we see a New Orleans here, but then the Vladivostok on the enemy team is going to get spotted. And, of course, we're going to go to work. That's what we do. Now, here's where we've got to be careful. Vladivostok has 16-inch guns with very good armor piercing. We do not have the armor to deal with this man. So we've got to try to keep our distance, limit the amount of times he can hit us. Azuma is able to take very good broadside shots at us. Luckily, he's just not a good shot. But Vladdy is going to start to shoot us, and every single shot that comes off of this is potentially deadly. Like, it just could be absolutely deadly. Luckily, doesn't happen. He gets some penetrations, gets some overpins. So that's where I start to feel pretty good. Now, Vladdy is going broadside on, and we are only 6.5 kilometers. We have 310mm guns with plenty of penetration to exploit the citadel of this man. Wait for it, shot out, and pow! Dropped him like a bad habit, but he immediately responds in kind, citadeling us right back, which is the unfortunate side of having a really, really slow reload time. You get into those situations. I would have been able to delete him before he got loaded. Unfortunately, that's just not what happened. Now, Azuma runs into an island and is sitting broadside to me. He's firing HE, so I'm not particularly worried about getting citadeled. So I absolutely wreck him with the first shot, 2 citadels, and that brings us all the way up to 147,000 damage already. And we're cruising. There's still plenty of damage to be had in this one. Now, he's still going in reverse, but he seems to be slowing down. So we're going to try not to lead him as much and see if we can't do it again. And it's looking pretty good. But, as you can see, we get a lot of overpins. And unfortunately, the guy behind me doesn't have the same problem. Down goes Azuma. And that just showcases that this thing is not invincible. It is very good, but it is not invincible. If you screw up, if you're caught broadside, you will be obliterated. If you are bow tanking 16-inch guns with good armor piercing, they are going to go through the nose of this thing and you will pay the price. It is very good ship, but still not amazingly strong. Okay, you don't want to be the person at the very front getting obliterated because you won't last very long. 50,000 hit points disappears real quick when everybody's shooting you. But I haven't had very many bad games. I think I've only had one real bad game, and that was like 35,000 damage, and that was just because I literally sailed right out into the middle of everybody, and it turns out that, you know, when battleships start shooting you, bad things happen. And that was on, what is it? What's that one? New Orleans goes down there. We've got Scharnhorst around the backside. And you can see I was thinking about coming around the backside of the island in case he was just going to sit there, because I do want to engage. I favor this engagement between the two of us. Scharnhorst still has torpedoes, though, so that's something to worry about. But watch how early this guy throws his torpedoes. I don't know if he's throwing them at us or if he's throwing them at the battleship to my right that just helped capture the base. But it's not good when you miss torpedoes by this much. Now, I've already assumed the torpedoes are coming. I know I'm in torpedo range. I am waiting. He gets pounded before he comes around the corner, and we are just going to wait for the best opportunity, and as soon as we got it, we take the shot, and this is not good dispersion, but we still get 3 penetrations and 1 overpin, and almost finish him off, but not quite. And as you can see, we're already running the sonar. We detect the torpedoes. They do look to be going straight for the battleships, so probably not intended for me, but if they were horrendous for me. But that's all she wrote for this match. We end up with quite a bit of damage and a very good overall contribution and showcase of what the ship is capable of. 159,000 damage, Witherer, First Blood, High Caliber, 3 Citadels, just able to do anything that is needed for the team. 2,622 base XP, top of the leaderboard. So if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.